Sarah Bertsinger is next.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bertsinger, and I've come to speak in opposition to SF 538. As you know, this country is a constitutional republic made up of individuals and sovereign states, meaning that we, the people, elect leaders who govern within the confines of our Constitution. The Constitution was drafted not to limit people, but government. In their wisdom, our founders knew ultimate power ultimately corrupted, which is why every effort was made to localize and limit government for better transparency and accountability. Again, as you know, in the Electoral College system, each individual state combines the number of US senators and representatives to get their total electoral vote. In Minnesota, we get 10. So how are we going to award these 10 votes? Give them to the most popular candidate nationwide, or follow the concept this nation was founded on, local, limited control, where local individuals know the issues at hand and vote accordingly? If we were truly to follow our nation's founding concept, each congressional district would award their vote to whichever candidate won in said district, and only the 2 Senate votes would go to the state popular vote. Instead of promoting our local voice to be heard, this national public vote runs in the exact opposite direction. The national popular vote awards preference not to individuals, but to the collective, to areas where there is high dense population. This bill would disfranchise much of our country in preference to high populated states. We have 10 votes, and we need you to protect our voice and our statehood. As a child, I had the opportunity to grow up in a number of West African countries, mostly in Cameroon. I loved living out in the bush. The people are amazing, hardworking, and resourceful. Community was everything, because it's all we had. All too often, the governments in and around where I lived put the preference of the populated cities above the needs of those living out in the bush. The people I lived among were forgotten by their government because there was no representation provided. The popular over the minority is what I witnessed. This is why I value our country, our state, and our Constitution so much. America was founded on hearing the voice of the people across the state and the country. America was founded on localized governance. What I find disturbing is this push to centralize government and elections. The national popular vote movement does not give fair or equal representation to America as a whole, but rather centralizes voice and power to will of those living in a few megacities. The interests and needs of most of America will be ignored, including Minnesota. You were elected to represent, protect, and uphold the voice of this state. The national popular vote goes in direct violation to state rights. Therefore, I ask you to reject this bill in its entirety. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Lena Niehoff. I'm a registered nurse from Rochester, Minnesota. I testify in opposition to Bill 538. Our founding fathers designed the Electoral College to protect the voices of we, the people. They created the constitutional republic, not democracy. We are constitutional republic. It's a form of government where all power resides in we, the people. The Electoral College system upholds our constitutional republic and ensures that the voices of all 50 states are heard when choosing our president or vice president. And it discourages voter fraud and centralized control over elections. Bill 538 blatantly disregards the Constitution of the United States. It forces the states to disregard the vote of the people and choose president and vice president based on the national popular vote. National popular vote system is designed to bring centralization of power over voting. Other thing is, it's called the communism. Centralized power was the biggest concern of our founding fathers. I would like to quote John Adams, "To expect self-denial from men when they have a majority in their favor, and consequently power to gratify themselves, is to disbelieve all history and universal experience, is to disbelieve revelation and the Word of God, which informs us the heart is deceitful and above all things desperately wicked." Jeremiah 17:9. there is no man as blind as not to see that to talk of founding a government upon the supposition that nations and great bodies of men, left to themselves, will practice a course of self-denial, is either to babe like a newborn infant or to deceive like an unprincipled impostor. That's the wisdom from our founding fathers. I ask you to vote no on the bill.
Larson from Rochester, Minnesota. Pleased to be here today. We've heard, actually, our country, our government, referred to as the greatest democracy in the world, but then many have also said our constitutional republic. And there is a difference. There's a real difference. But for even our Secretary of State to say the greatest democracy in the world causes me some concerns, because that's very fundamental. We have a constitutional republic given to us by our forefathers who had seen Europe destroyed by centralized power and ruined through endless wars. And at a point in time, they came over to a new land. They were very wise, and they designed something for us to make it as much strong as possible to resist tyranny. But they also had the wisdom to know it would be a battle. And the founding fathers said, we've given you a constitutional republic if you can keep it. And it's been under attack since day one. As senators, I believe you have all taken an oath to the Constitution to uphold it. And I think that's good that you have done that. But it's important to know how crucial our Constitution is and that we are a republic. Where is it in the educational system today? The federal curriculum, which everyone can choose or reject, but if you want the funding, you take it. And generation after generation has been produced that doesn't have a clue even what it is. It's not mentioned at all, or much of the early history of our country. That is a big concern to me. So I think it's very important to realize on the surface what looks good might not really be good, and it's very important before changing something clearly put in the Constitution to know why it was put in there that way. Even the Constitution, I would say, I've lived overseas for actually 14 years. Our Constitution is the envy of the world. And when Hillary Clinton was overseas and someone asked about our Constitution, she said, oh, that archaic document. So it shows there is not much regard for it because it is under attack. So anyway, I just encourage you all to see the big picture.
My name is Ray Parker. I'm from Rochester, Minnesota, and I'm here to voice my opinion against SF 538, the bill that will take away state rights, state voices, and the voices of small rural areas and small communities, and will nullify the state popular vote. Taking away the Electoral College, or at least overrunning the Electoral College by signing a pact with other states within whom all have differing laws for voting. Laws such as early voting, registering to vote or not, who qualifies for the ballot, felony voting, absentee mail-in voting, non-citizen voting, underage voting, dead people voting, unsecured voting, differing recount thresholds, all that can lead to voter fraud with no say in how to protect our vote. This bill takes away the sovereignty of our state and the voice of its people. The Electoral College, although flawed, is the best option for us not the national popular vote. The national popular vote would cater only to the large cities throughout the country, leaving rural areas and states with low populations at a disadvantage and never getting proper representation or even a vote that will be heard. We don't need a monopoly on votes, and that is what the national popular vote would give us. The state has its popular vote when the people of our state vote for the candidates they want. Then the electoral vote goes to that popular candidate, not to the candidate that won popular vote in Texas or California or New York or others, but for Minnesota. Then each state has their say on what their populace wants and gives their electoral college vote for that candidate. This is as fair as it gets. We declare our own voting laws. We vote for the candidate that the majority under fair and safe elections has declared the best. Hopefully all can understand this voting freedom. Vote no to SF 538. Vote no to MPV.